What's going on, guys? Openhand here, back with another build video, this time for last Epoch. I decided I wanted to check out Season 2 this time around. And yeah, I just figured I'd go and show you what kind of build I came up with. You know, kind of like my other build videos, I tend to play stuff that's a bit off meta. So what I came up with here was a physical crit Javelin Forge Guard build. And I've been having a ton of fun with it. Super tanky. The damage is pretty decent. It's obviously not quite on the level of a Paladin as far as damage goes, but you can see here, you know, not bad damage, and the survivability is really the main point of this build, I would say. You know, being super tanky lets me push very high corruption. This right here is like 1300 corruption, and I'm sure this can go much higher than 1300. But what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to run through this echo real quick to kind of show you a little bit of gameplay, and then after that I will quickly go through the passives, the skills, blessings, gear, and all that stuff. So yeah, let's get into it here. Generally speaking, I want to be standing still, just because I do more damage when I'm standing still, but versus like enemies and stuff and like these echoes, it's really not too big of a deal. And this is 1300 corruption. From what I've read, it's not really worth going much over 1000 corruption, just because you don't really get any like additional benefits or anything like that. Alright, let's real quick. As far as like item rarity and stuff, like I guess the item rarity goes up, but like the odds of you getting better gear, like multiple like T7 affixes, is like pretty much the same at 1000 as it is 2000 from what I understand. But I might just for fun try to push like way harder corruption later, just to see how far I can really go before I start getting in trouble. But you know, at 1300 I have literally no issue. So that's kind of what I do. Generally just stand still and I'll just like click on stuff. Particularly versus bosses, and I'm going the complete wrong way.
I cannot do that. I cannot do that. I cannot do that.
Oops. I guess usually when there's a champion, I'll throw my shield just because it does a little bit more damage. When stuff gets hit my shield throw, gives me like frenzy and stuff. But yeah, that's basically how the build plays. Getting into the passives here. Obviously 20 points in the Sentinel here. I go 8 in the Juggernaut, 6 in the Fearless. I don't know if you could tell, but I got a little bit of health regeneration. I like having a little bit. I have Leech as well, and my blessing. My blessings. Over here. But I think having a little bit of health regen in your back pocket's still really, really nice, because there are situations where like you might need to run away, and if you're not leeching from damaging, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble, right? So, and obviously it helps against like damage over time stuff and all that. So having a little bit of health regen is quite nice. After that, you got armor clad here for the reduced damage from nearby enemies, 1 point in stalwart for the block chance, 5 points into abyssal endurance for the void and physical damage reduction. Over here in the paladin, 8 in the conviction for increased damage. I put 5 into the defiance for the increased endurance threshold, and obviously the elemental resist. The way my gear and stuff is set up, I am running null portent, which basically it behooves me to have overcapped resistances anyways. So I think if you're going to go for something like this, where you have a lot of overcapped resistances and stuff, and red rings that give you all res and all that stuff, putting 5 points into Defiance is definitely the way to go. I think I get probably like 200 or 300 additional endurance threshold just from putting 5 points in here alone. The attunement is useless, but well, pretty much useless. Might help you hit that 180 stat mark for the red rings if you need it, but in most situations, it's pretty useless. But the elemental resist and the 5 point bonus is well worth 5 points in my opinion. After that, 3 points in honor for the block chance, 4 points in the valor for basically the endurance. Unfortunately, on my gloves, I rolled really shitty as far as endurance goes, so I need to put points there in order to hit the 60% endurance cap. But if you don't need that, that's kind of your flex spot. Yeah, you can this and might over here are kind of your flex spots. You can do pretty much whatever you want with those points. But I think might over here is a really, really good node. If I didn't need these here, I would just simply put them over in the night or into might for the additional strength and additional health. After that, 5 points in the Holy Icon for the necrotic res and the health regen. And then 6 points into Force Devotion for the armor shred and the throwing attack damage. Next in the Forge Guard Mastery, 6 points in the Weapon Master for the critical strike chance with Spear, and I also needed to put an additional one just so I could basically move the tree along. 3 points in the Steel Aegis, 1 point in the Fresh from the Forge, so I can get over to Champion of the Forge. 5 points here, so I get the additional critical multiplier per strength. Up here in the Guardian, I max this out. You get the health, you get the increased stun chance, which is really, really nice. Just for slowing and staggering enemies and stuff, so they won't attack you in certain situations, and obviously the increased health regen is nice. Over here, I have 4 points into Iron Reflexes. I see a lot of Forge Guards actually max this out. I think that's a bad idea. You don't need the reduced bonus from crits at all. And once you hit the 5 point bonus, it basically will add your dodge rating to your armor after all multipliers have been applied. So essentially, you're going to end up with like 200 armor, and it's just kind of like shitty. It might not even move your armor percentage up 1%. But if you don't have that, then and it only applies while you're moving, by the way, too. So like if you're sitting here and you have that, it does jack shit. But if you're moving, and you don't have that and you have actual dodge chance, like right now, I have like a 9% chance when moving to dodge all damage, which I think is quite a bit better. And it's also competing with the might node here, which might, again, I think is just better than having 2 decks. 1 strength and 2% health, I think, is better than the 2 decks, because again, we're not worried about the reduced bonus damage from critical hits. After that, Crusader, 4 points here, so I can get over into Javelin here, max this out because of the crit multi. Obviously, Forge Master's Might, and then 8 points in the Master of Arms for the Frailty, the reduced bonus damage from crits, and the additional strength. I mean, it is kind of nice to have the reduced bonus damage from crit here and here, just because it makes it so you don't have to run any of the Citadel boots anymore to hit that 100% critical strike avoidance or whatever. So it's kind of nice in that regard. But also with Iron Reflexes, my dexterity is high enough where I have 100% critical hit chance anyways. So it just seemed a little bit redundant to even try to max that out, I would say. As far as the skills go, forward shield throw, I come down here and I take Colossus, and I also take Defender's Rage, so I have the Frenzy. And then I go over here and I take Vampiric Seal for a little bit of Leech, and then with the additional points, I come up here and I just take Ironmonger with the leftover points for a little bit more Armor Shred. I'm a big fan of Healing Hands, turning it into a traversal skill, just because if you get in a sticky situation, you can dart out and you're invincible, and then once you stop traveling, you generally heal for quite a bit. So it's just a really, really good kind of get out of jail free card, I would say. But if you want to run something like, I guess, what's it called? Volatile Reversal, and use like an Unspect Lunge or something, you can do that if you want, but I just don't really see the point of that. I think Healing Hands, particularly against like Aberoth and stuff too, Uber Aberoth, it's just a godsend, to be honest. Over here in the Paladin tree, I basically obviously take Spike Bombardment, Over here, I max out Beast Ender, max out Monster Piercer, max out Mighty Delivery. 1 point Warrior Mark is fine because you attack so quickly and you have enough dex where you're gonna have maxed Physical Shred pretty much all the time, anyways. And then over here, I max out Forceful Hurl. This is just an insane node, and again, like it behooves me to stand still, anyways, just because I get the increased endurance threshold for my boots, and I get the reduced mana cost for my boots as well. So yeah, just generally speaking, one stand still, especially against bosses and stuff. And you can see here like 602,000 when I'm standing still for a while. Once I start moving, like it basically cuts in half, right? So just way more damage if I'm standing still. And then after that, over here in the Holy Smite, you want to make sure you get the Cleanse. This is particularly good against Uber Aberoth, obviously. But even against some of the bosses and stuff, they have some pretty nasty damage over time in some areas. And then you want to go over here and get Righteous Flurry for the increased attack speed. Pick up Blind when you can too. Just it's nice to have, I'd say. Yeah, and then a little bit of healing up here. And then for Symbols of Hope, I go with 5 sigils because I want the additional block chance and I want the additional endurance here. So just go this way, grab this. Over here you get the double regen from your symbols, which is really, really nice too. Another good reason to have 5. And then 4 points over here with the additional points for some more damage. As far as gear goes, I'm pretty specced out as far as like late game stuff goes. If you don't have a lot of items, it's totally fine. You can still run this build and do well. I literally didn't even get this spear until I was level 80. I was using just a generic spear, and I was still killing stuff in like 1 or 2 throws. So you don't need all this stuff. You can still totally do this without even Seraphins. But eventually you're going to want to get Seraphins, at least, right? But 2 LP on this one. It's not too hard to get 2 LP. It's a pain in the ass to get your first one of these, but once you get that Woven Echo where there's like 30 mages, this becomes relatively easy to farm. And yeah, 2 LP not too hard to get. For the Null Port and 2 LP is hard to get, but 1 LP is not, so prioritize getting like a tier 7 increased health over here. For Majasa's Shield, 2 LP is not hard to get. 3 LP is pretty hard, I got lucky. But 2 LP, very easy to get. You want to prioritize either a perfect block chance, so that'd be 26 for tier 7. You want to get that, or you want to get a perfect Soul Arm banner with 5% block chance to get that 100% block chance. So either 26 here and 4 here, or 5 here and 25 here. And then blessings there, you're going to have to, get a max block chance from Herod as well. Kind of a pain in the ass, but it's well worth getting that 100% block chance. Again, against particularly Uber Aberoth, where even if you have 99% block chance and he gets that 1% through, like you're going to be in a world of hurt. Yeah, but again, 2 LP on this not too bad. Red rings, obviously a pain in the ass to get. I'm doing Circle of Fortune, so my best advice would be just put these in your Weaver tree if you get one, and then just spam ring prophecies. It's going to take a while, but eventually you'll get there. Yeah, but if you don't have red rings, you can just replace it with like, I don't know, anything. But I would prioritize, if you do have Foot of the Mountain, you really only need 1 of these damage or the mana cost reductions on your ring. If you have the extra slots or something, it's obviously nice to have this, but I'd say prioritize throwing attack speed on one ring and then prioritize reduction on the other. So, and then for my gloves, Raucous Claws, this is just really, really good because of the crit multi on it. 2 LP on this is pretty easy to get. 3 LP, not so easy, got lucky. But yeah, obviously you want to prioritize increased throwing attack speed, and I would say hybrid health for your second slot if you can. Foot in Mountain, 2 LP, pretty easy. 3 LP, not so easy. Personally, I hate being slow, so I put T7 movement speed on here. If you want a little more health, you can put T7 like hybrid health instead, and you just go with like a generic movement speed, which would net you like 15 to 18, I think, percent, which technically might be a little better, but again, I just hate being slow. I see people that use these and they don't even put movement speed on them, and they're running at like a 10% increased movement speed. And I'm just like, how do you even do that? It just slows down farming so much. So yeah, I'd put T7 on here. But yeah, if you want to just put a T5 on here, that's probably fine as well. And then for my relic, this is what I got at the moment. Obviously, I would like a T7 throwing damage or a T7 javelin, but I mean it's still uh, pretty good relic. But the important part again is the block chance here, so you can get that 100% block chance. For my idols here, I'm still working on this one. Ideally, I want to get crit on that. So crit chance and crit multi. I have not been able to get it for some reason. I got it here. And you want to get the throwing critical strength multiplier with the block effectiveness kind of idols. So you want 4 of those. And then I put armor and damage over time mitigation on a couple of these just because I didn't need the crit chance. So yeah, and then up here you want to make sure you have at least 1 relic that has a chance to cast smite when you hit with throwing attacks, and you want to get the block chance on there as well. Critical strike chance and multis obviously always pretty good bet. If you're fighting Uber Aberroth though, you're gonna want 2 of these just because the cleanse is so damn important. So yeah, 1 of these if you're just doing monolith Uber Aberroth, you're gonna want 2. And then for these, I just basically put in just damage and resistances where I need it. This is a really good one. 5 physical pin and 3 throwing damage. 28% increased throwing damage. I've literally only found 1 of these. So yeah, it's kind of luck of the draw, I guess. For blessings here. From Lagan, you want to take the health regen. From Herod, you want the block chance and block effectiveness. I think this is from the shamans. You want the armor. And then up here you want the all resist from Emperor Corpses. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the flat 313 armor here, it's really, really important. So I'd say, they have the endurance blessing too, which is very enticing, but I think the flat armor is just severely better if you can get it and find endurance through other means, i.e., Foot of the Mountain has a lot there, so, and your gloves have endurance as well, so you generally probably won't need that blessing. But I think that's pretty much everything. If I forgot something, I guess I'll leave a comment and talk about it then, I guess. But thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.